One of the biggest things that makes me an idiot, aside from my history of crypto investing, is sticking to opinions that I come up with using something right away and then never adjusting them. This is the perfect way to talk about my experience with AMP and cab simulators or modelers, and I've really been a total idiot, okay? So I've had a IK Multimedia TONEX pedal for a long time now. I really only used it to kind of clone a combo amp, and it did an awesome job. Basically what you can do is you can use the software, you can clone an amp that you like the sound of, and then actually put it in a pedal so you can use it live a lot easier. What I didn't really take into consideration is how good some of the high gain stuff is in the new TONEX libraries. So this is gonna be a Sweetwater exclusive. They sponsored this video and hooked me up with their amp and cab sims. They have a Mesa Boogie cab sim that is like ridiculous. Basically it's a dual rack. I've been working on this rock album and I've been using my Mesa 525 on the burn channel, which is kind of like a dual rack sound. And I've been happy with the sound I've been getting, but when I'm doing like overdubs and stuff, it's hard to get the exact same sound. So I was like, all right, well maybe I'll just like fire the TONEX and like check out the new Mesa stuff. And guy, like, it's actually insane. So real quick, I'll just play a riff and then I'll go back and forth in context, because in context is really like the main reason you want something like this. So I've got this tuned down to drop C. And my thing with like modelers is, sure they sound cool, but they never get the high gain stuff right. Well, that has all changed, because this right here is so good, and I'm actually blown away. Now, first what I want you to hear, I want you to hear this in context, and then I'll show you kind of back and forth like an A/B of how I was able to mic my Mesa versus just what the TONEX dual rec was able to do. All right, so here real quick, here's what just it by itself sounds like. This is gonna be the TONEX. And then here's what my Mesa sounds like just by itself. This is a stereo recording. One of them with the Telefunken TF11 mic, and the other one just like a dynamic microphone. And then now together in context. Blown away by how it really captures the feeling of a high gain tube amp, and listening to it through monitors and playing it live and just being able to go direct in is a huge game changer for me, especially when I'm trying to get the consistency of like recording an album and wanting a similar guitar tone, especially when I'm swapping out mics and preamps and I'm not getting everything in the exact same spot. So I am so impressed with this. Really quick, so just talk about the pedal really quick. You don't necessarily need the pedal unless you're doing like live stuff, because all it is essentially taking your favorite things out of the software and putting it in a pedal format. This is kind of like the OG one. It has stereo left, right, out. It has a headphone out. It has MIDI controller and like an external foot switch option. You can actually use this as an interface. It has USB, and then you just plug it right in here. And then you can just basically put everything on the software onto this. They have a new one now that is just a much smaller footprint that you can, it's called the One, and you can just kind of like get the main things you want, which especially might be all you need if you just want to get the sound of one single amp out to a gig and you're playing with it live. This is some insane technology, guys. Again, I want to reiterate, I've used this before, but never in the context of how I'm using it now. I'll link you my first video I did on this because it's kind of interesting going through more of like the actual cloning part of it. But this one just using the collection of amps that comes with the Sweetwater one. And again, anytime you get any of these from Sweetwater, you get the amp collection that they have because it's like pretty incredibly recorded. Real quick, let me just show you the TONEX interface reel here. So here's the high gain one they use. This is basically a Mesa dual rectifier. And what's cool is you can like add reverb to it later, you can add like delay, compression to it, but essentially it's just the amp because they don't do time-based effects, so they allow you to add time-based effects in the actual app itself. That isn't necessarily cloned from the amp that you're modeling, but they have it in here anyways because you're going to want to use reverb and stuff, so it's easier to do. And basically all of these have just like a little info button, and then it tells you exactly what mics were used, how they did it, and I'm telling you, they did a much better job capturing the sound of the amp than I'm able to do just here in my studio. And it's, you know, it takes a lot of time to kind of just do stuff like that. So super impressed. I want to do another pass through and maybe use the orange amp because I've always been a fan. I've never actually owned an orange amplifier, but this is just a great way to kind of do that. So let's check that out actually. English Dirt. Capture like the sounds remarkably well. So guys, I'm actually blown away. My entire opinion of amp modeling has changed just because of just doing this video. This video was way different than what I set out to be. What I originally wanted to do was I wanted to clone my 525, put it in the TONEX pedal, and then be able to use it live for some of these gigs that I'm doing. But now that I'm like checking out the dual rec stuff, it's like I kind of prefer it. So this has become a much different video than what it started with. Let's actually listen to some of the clean sounds too, because clean was the other thing that I thought modelers had struggled with in the past, but now I think they're better with it. All right, so as long as I have this fired up, I want to talk a little bit about the other Sweetwater exclusive TONEX amps. This one is like a clean Fender 65 Deluxe, which is one of my favorite amps of all time. And I mean, it sounds so good. And my previous thoughts were that like, okay, well, a tube amp just feels different when you're playing it. It's like a luxury that like, yeah, the recorded thing sounds a little bit different, but you get a different feel when you're actually playing a tube amp live. And what I will say about that with the TONEX stuff is in the pedal, if you're using the headphones or even through your interface and you're using headphones, it does kind of lose like the feel of a tube amp, because guess what? Everything does through headphones digitally. But the experience that I'm currently having just playing around with this Fender Deluxe simulator, apparently, going through like a nice pair of monitors that are like turned up pretty loud, is the exact same feeling that I get playing through like just a cool tube amp when the volume is kind of comparable. So I almost think that that whole part of the argument is just totally removed. Like this sounds so good. And again, like you can't really capture the time-based effects if you want to try to clone like an effect or something like that. But in the TONEX software, you can just like toggle the reverb on and off. You could add a bunch of delay and stuff like that. And man, I'm just a huge fan. So that's the deluxe. Let's try another clean one, and then let's try a couple other gain ones. All right, so this is a Fender Twin Reverb. Let's see how this one sounds. Another thing that I feel like they've really just nailed is, and something that I remember not loving earlier in previous versions of Amp Cab Sims and stuff like that, is I never felt like the palm muting was right. But now, like, this is so good, and I just feel like such an idiot because, like, I've had a TONEX pedal for a while, and I really only like cloned one just kind of like small combo amp. And I never really explored the TONEX library, but these Sweetwater exclusive ones are just so awesome. And the palm muting is so realistic because again, that was something that I felt like I couldn't get with like simulators, but I'm an idiot. I just didn't really look hard enough. I do think it's important though to have the distinction of like good monitors playing these through is a very important kind of like consideration to take because again, anything through headphones is going to feel kind of like a little, in my opinion, a little more sterile. So it's cool that you can have that. And again, having like the actual pedal is a game changer for just being able to do this live. But the plug-in alone, I'm just absolutely in love with. All right, so let's check out one of the pedals here. I know that they cloned like kind of like a big muff. Let's see what that sounds like. This is awesome. I mean, guys, I love this software pedal, however you want to look at it. Thank you so much to Sweetwater for sponsoring the video, sending this over. Like I said, you can kind of get into the TONEX world, if you will, cheaper than ever now because now they have like the little headphone amp and they also have the one pedal. So I'll have an affiliate link if you guys are interested in any of this stuff. Let me know what you think of the new music. I think it sounded pretty cool. Definitely so much easier to record now without having to worry about mic and amps up. I do think that like just the purist in me, I'll still blend some combination of the tube amp and the TONEX. Not because I need to, just because it makes me feel better about owning an amp. So I'm going to keep that up. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions or comments, hit me up in the comment section, Instagram, and website, and I'll talk to y'all soon.